if you, for example, I'll use this one here because it's long. If, for example, we took this and we cut here, leaving, let's do that at this point as well, leaving these two longer green, fresh shoots. At this time of year, that is not the accurate technique. At this time of year, if you would do that, then this green shoot will slowly die back and you'll get buds at the bottom. So you want buds at the bottom, that's the goal, but there's no point to say, okay, well, let's cut it haphazardly and make it look ugly, and well, not ugly, but dirty, while this fresh growth dies back. Just simply cut it off now and then it will look, as they say, skitty, right? Well, clean and refreshing, right? Okay. So I will go through here and just kind of like branch system by branch system. And what I'm going to do is if there's any areas that are dead, I'll cut those out. Like these two are dead. We've got one little itty bitty bud right there. So I'll just go ahead and keep that. I'm not going to mess with it because on this branch right here, there's only one needle. I don't know if you can see that. There's only one needle. One older needle right here. And so if I cut off that bud that grew this year and there was only literally one needle set, it's not going to produce another bud. It's going to die and that will have been a waste of a branch. So in that kind of situation, I'm not going to decant, but right next to it, so here's another example of that same situation. A couple of weaker buds, not a lot of old needles. So I'll just leave that alone and I won't mess with this. There's a little bud back here that's coming out and I'll leave that alone too because it's a little baby bud and there aren't any old needles. And so if I cut it off, I'm just losing the bud. There's no point to do that. Now, as we continue to look at this particular branch system, we can see here, we've got two new buds that came out this year right next to two older buds. I'll just cut all of that off because at this junction, we actually have four buds coming off of one junction and we actually only want two. So I'll cut off the newer ones and leave the older ones because here in this part of the tree, I would like that length that those older buds give us. If I cut back to the new buds, then that's fine. You could do that. You could choose to leave the new buds and cut out the old buds if you want to reduce the length of the branch. But in this situation on this tree, I want some length and so I'll keep the older buds. Now we can see here that we have two new fresh buds in the center and it's surrounded by a great many buds or needles from last year. So what I'll do is I'll remove those buds from this year's new buds, and I will reduce down the remaining older needles to how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8 to 10 sets of needles that are the older buds. So we'll do that same thing in here. We'll cut this off, and reduce these needles around. And as you're cutting the new needles, or the new buds rather, as you're cutting the new buds, it would make sense that if you have your hands already in here holding things, that would be the best time for you to come back also and do the defoliating. Because your hand's already in there. Your supporting hand's already in there holding it. So do both of them at the same time and you don't have to come back. And you can go through it very cleanly and efficiently. So these are the first ones that I gave you the example of how to cut. So I'll just reduce those. This one is mighty full of old needles, so I'll reduce this heavily. And next to it, we have this little guy. So here's another example. We've got this little guy here that's a new bud this year, and we have two needle sets from last year that are surrounding it. So as I've already described in another position, I will leave this and I won't cut it off. But right next to it, we've got this new bud from this year and a great many needles from years past that we can go ahead and reduce this down to 2, 4, 6, 8. So it's in this position. This is what you want the tree to look like. If you're going to have some mixture of fresh growth this year that you want to keep mixed with areas that you've decandled because you want that second flush to come out. then I'm coming right back in there, right? With my scissor technique is such that I'm really, in order to utilize the scissor like that, so that the way I'm holding it allows me not have to put it down and pick it back up and put it down and pick it back up. If I can constantly have the scissor in my hand, then I can move a lot faster through the tree and through the work that I need to do on the tree than if I were constantly having to pick up and put down my scissor. So try that out if you want to. See how that goes for you. It might take a bit of time to get used to, but it's also really important. If efficiency is something that you're concerned about, you don't have to be. Working with bonsai is something that you can enjoy and just, really take your time with. If you're not worried about how much time it takes to do any given task, then go ahead and take your time and do it whatever way feels most comfortable for you. But for me, it is 100% to hold my scissors in that position. So here we go. I'm using my forearm to push this branch out of the way. I'm going to use my pinky and my ring finger on my right hand to push those branches out of the way to allow me to pull this branch system down with my pointer finger and my thumb on my right hand to pull it down into the position where I can work on it without it brushing up here on this branch. So I'm pushing this stuff out of the way with all the way from here. And I'm going to bring this down in here, and then I can move it around and twist it to get it in the proper position to be cutting with this hand here.